So, I'm going to try something a bit different because I have been ridiculously busy. Idiotically busy. No time for computers busy. It's been really sad actually. And between multiple trips to New Zealand, out to California, being up to here with work, spring, kids, summer, trees coming down, storms, roof, mowing, gardening. Anyway, it's been busy. And so I've had no real content to present, and it's been 4 months and I'm feeling like crap. I do actually feel guilty about this, I really, really do. I don't have anything to post, so I'm feeling so bad. I'm going to try something different. And I'm going to talk about myself. So for everybody who has no interest in listening to me talk about myself, now is the time to exit. I have also broken my video editing machine because Apple hates everyone. And so this is going to be done in one take. So I'm going to try not to ramble, which is also probably why you saw me walk away from the camera when I turned it on. Anyway, if you have no interest in me listening, oh God, let's try this again. No interest in listening to me talk about myself, now would be the time to exit. Just walk away, because I got nothing better. I'm really sorry. Like I said, I was in New Zealand recently, home, and I kind of wanted to do a video there because I thought that I could do a video about where this all started. Again, one about myself, but for anyone who's interested. And of course I started there, and all of my stuff before I moved here is there. And my father, who now lives in China, has most of his stuff packed up in 40-foot containers. 9 of them, including my stuff. And I thought it'd be great because I could make you understand why I am broken. And this is what I do. And I ended up not making it because I spent the entire time trying to find the first computers that I picked up, the ones that mean the most to me. And it wasn't until the last day almost I realized that they were not where I thought they were. They were back in my home, my house where I used to live, and hadn't been flowing down and packed away in containers. So I'm going to go back a bit, and then I'm going to go forward. So, my apologies in advance. What I do, this is sort of genetic. Maybe it's the same way with you guys. My dad did this. My dad's a mechanical engineer, but he's always been kind of interested in anything fiddly, anything interesting, elegant, technological crap, woodworking, metalworking, machining, computers, things like that. When he was a post-university, he was hired by the University of Canterbury in Christchurch in New Zealand to test alternative fuels. So alcohol, ethanol, diesel, alternative fuel in a car, CNG, LPG, these sorts of things. And to test that, they had to build the machinery to test the vehicles. They imported vehicles, a car from Brazil, from China, from all sorts of places, to have all these different fuel types. And so he built, from scratch, for the university, a chassis dynamometer. The first one any university in the country had. And then he had to build all of the computing equipment to read all of the emissions coming off it, the information coming out of the chassis dynamometer, stuff coming off the engine, RPM count, things like that, and read it in so that they could make an accurate comparison. So he's doing this, and the machine that he picked was a PDP-11 Mink, which is a data acquisition option for the PDP-11. And he got kind of interested in this, and he went, this is kind of cool, I like this crap. And so then he goes and he builds a Z80 machine from parts, standard bus. And then he goes, well, this is really cool, I can do better than this. And so he builds a machine from scratch, from the ICs, etches his own boards, makes the case himself out of custom board and paints it in aluminium. And then the case for the twin 8-inch floppy drives makes it. The rack that it goes in. Decides that the VT100 that he has, it's okay, but it's not cool enough. So he builds a monitor and a keyboard from scratch. Aluminium case, aluminium frame. The keyboard sits in a custom board frame that he milled out himself, things like that. So I show up, and in the early 80s, this is what I grew up with, where we should have a second bedroom. We have all of his books, a lathe, and this computer. I had my own 8-inch floppy disk, Paul. In 1985, the Department of Health of New Zealand has a pair of PDP-11 34As. There's one in the North Island, one in the South Island, and they talk to each other over backhaul link. And they decide that this crap is getting a bit old, and they sell it. And my dad, being the eternal optimist and the savant idiot that he is, buys a 3-rack PDP-11 programs console, extended unibus chassis, 5 RKO5 drives, a pair of massive tape drives, washing machine drives, RPO4s, stacks of discs for it, all of the print sets, the documentation, the net lists, everything. And then he goes around the country and collects more, because what's one when you can have more? So I'm 5 years old in 1986, and I discovered that this thing has a game on it. It's called Dungio. And arcane knowledge here, the RT11 operating system for the PDP-11 had 6 character file names. Dungio is short for dungeon, which is what Infocom, before it was Infocom, called Zork. So I have an early release of Zork, 5 years old. Of course, it's real Zork by now, it's moved on, but I don't know any better. And I like it, and I play it so often, you are the little white marbles, that my old man shows me how to bootstrap a PDP-11. So I'm 5 years old, and I toddle in, and I stand on a chair, because I can't reach the freaking programmer's console. And I flip the thing on, and I go to this VT100 terminal, CIT 101, a knockoff, and I bootstrap it, DKDD, I think, or is it DDDK? Anyway, and it boots off the RQO5, and then I select the second pack, and I fire up Dungio, and I play Zork. And at 5 years old, this is the pinnacle of cool. And I swear to God, from that day, it was practically in my genetics. I was going to be a computer geek. I had no choice in the matter. I mean, that was just it. And big computers, I mean, boy, do I get a semi for that. So, fast forward in time, I'm out of high school. I've spent a half year doing nothing. The internet, chatters, BBSs, talking online, meeting my future wife, and programming, fiddling, firing about with computers. And I'm hanging out with a friend one day, and we're in town, and I say, hey, there's an ISP. The ISP that I use happens to be one of the first, well, it is the first public ISP in New Zealand. It's called Actrix. It's still around. One of the first public ISPs on the planet. So public as in Joe Blogs off the street can get an account, log into the internet before everybody else was using educational accounts for universities, things like that, and DARPA, of course. And I said, I bet they've got cool computers. Let's go visit them. Let's go hang out. And so I knock on their door and I say, hey, I'm a nerd. I'm 18 years old. Can we look through your computer room? And after some confusion about some nutter kid that shows up with a friend of his, they go, sure, whatever. And so they show me around. And it's telecom racks of stuff, mostly white box stuff. There's a couple of Sun machines, an old BBS, Wellcom for those New Zealanders, the Wellingtonians, that I used to use before this company bought it, things like that. And we are out in their accounting department, and they're showing me in the accounting department they have a stack of big radio tuners. And the tuners are where they take the local FM radio stations and stream it onto the internet, which for, what the hell, 1997 would have been massive. Like streaming protocols, real-time streaming protocols are in their infancy. Real prior didn't really exist back then. I mean, this is forever ago. I know, the white here and the cane is showing, but 1,000 years ago. And they have a disk. And on this disk is all of the stacks of paperwork for incoming invoices, outgoing, customer billing, all of that crap. And I happen to notice that under the disk are a pair of these Sun 4470s. these cabinets. And I go, what's that? Oh, they're all computers. We don't use them anymore. The new ones were power efficient. They were getting a bit funny. Huh. If I buy you a disc, can I have those? Sure. Okay. Do you have more? Well, actually, we have the machines that came before them. They're out in the closet. Can I see? Oh, those look cool. Can I have those too? Sure, we don't give a shit. So, I go with my friend, and we go to the local Salvation Army store, and we buy a 12-foot table. It cost me $40 New Zealand in 1997. There is no way I'm fitting this on my Toyota Starlet hatchback, my 1982 Toyota Starlet hatchback that is 3-door. So my friend and I walk it 10 blocks through Wellington City on its side and deliver it to Actrix. And they go, okay, I guess you're serious. Sure. I move all the paperwork, we roll these things out. They have an elevator, and it's one of the old style elevators with the 2 sliding grates, you know. You close the outer one, you close the inner one, and the thing enables, and you can press the buttons. But the light in the elevator doesn't work. Burned down a decade ago. Nobody uses this anymore. And the bit where it stops, where it reaches the floor, that doesn't work so good either. So we roll the sons into the elevator. Not too many at a time, because it's kind of old. It's not got that much weight carrying capacity. And my friend, he won't get in this damn thing, because it's dark, and he's not sure if, like, impending death. We're going to be eaten by grooves, that kind of shit. And so, I close the doors, it's pitch black, I press the button, and I've got my finger over the stop button, and I'm waiting, until I see the light just below the door, and I press the button, and I swing open the grates. I'm at the right floor, a little bit of a gap, but it wasn't too bad, and we roll the things off. And so I've got 2 of these. And the first one is the CPU cabinet, which is a 12-slot VME Sun machine. And then the second one has 4 IPI2 discs, and so they're full length. They would be 8-inch platters maybe, but big. The thing that made the IPI2 discs cool was they had a huge amount of logic on the disk. It wasn't on the controller board. So they were very, very smart intelligence devices in their own right. So it's full of these things. These drives weigh like 30 pounds a piece, and it's got 4 of them in this, and then there's the chassis. And I have a 1982 Toyota Starlet. And so my friend and I managed to hump these things into the tailgate of the Starlet with the back seats down. But the gate won't close. So we drive all of the way home through traffic, through the suburbs, past the airport, up my house, up my hill to my house, with my friend sitting in the back between 2 200-pound 1991 Suns, holding the tailgate down, because it didn't occur to me that I should bring like a bungee strap or something. Those machines used to run this ISP. The name of it was Shamal. And Shamal was the main machine, and then it became the FTP server with all of the disks in it. And the CPU in it was a bit spotty, but I'd pull all of the cards out, and I'd spray them with electrical contact cleaner, and I'd slam them back in. Christ knows how I didn't crack the center plane, the front plane. And so everything was well seated, and I fired up, and it would throw errors to these machines go through a huge scan of startup system tests. They do bus checks, they do CPU checks, they do detailed RAM checks, cache checks, all of these things, all of the boards self-check. And it would throw errors upon errors, bus tag misses, cache misses, CPU misses, stops, faults, all of this crap, and it would go on and on and on and on. And I'd walk away, and I'd just leave it running, and I'd walk away. And an hour later, and it's still spewing out errors, I'd hit the reset button, and it had come right up. Because it had warmed up, like this is a machine, this is that class of machine that you turned it on, and the day you turned it off was the day it caught fire and died. So, gave it an hour to warm up, everything kind of seats, the ICs reseat, everything's good, and it would run fine. And I figured a way to bypass the Login was how I learned what a single user was, and I got into the system. The other machines were 4260s, slightly earlier than this, narrower, darker grey case. I think they're 9-slot VMEs running these guys. I ended up with 6 of those. 2 CPU cabs, 4 disk cabs. They were SMDs, not IPI2s. So since then, I've always had a soft spot for the 9U VME boxes. I've got a 4470, I've got a 690 MP, 670 MP, so this is a multiprocessor. I've got a 280, which is a rack mount, and I just picked up a 330 the other day, which is a really cute little desk side. Anyway, after this, I really caught the bug. In my bedroom, I have these guys. I have my dad's PDP-1134A, the triple rack monster. And I'm getting the hankering. I'm like, well, if I can get this, you know, there's got to be more out there. So in New Zealand, they have a governmental department called the DSIR, which, Industry and Research, I don't know what DS stands for, Department of Science, Industry and Research, that's what it'll be. And so it's a government-funded science institute. And they have a facility in Petone, which is about 35 minutes from where I lived. And so I rock on up there, and I knock on the front door, and I say, hey, look, I'm just out of high school. I love computers. I'm going to be a computer geek. I really dig vintage computers. Do you have anything? How about you talk to the nerds in the back? They'll sound like the people I'm looking for. Talk to the nerds. Hey, nerds, how's it going? Really? You know, that's funny. We've got a pair of PDPs upstairs. You can have them. We're really glad somebody wants to use them. Well, hell, PDPs, you say? I am totally there. So I picked up a pair of 1173 in the micro chassis, like the pharmacy computer that I have. And they said, well, do you want disk drives? Of course I want disk drives. RLO2s. So the front pops up and you drop a disk pack, and it's just a single platter disk pack, you know, about, yeah. Has RSX11M on it. Those still work. They haven't been used in 10, 15 years. Not a problem. Fire it straight up, boots off the RLO2 pack, no problems at all. I have the original digital boxes that the RLO2 packs came in, with the big RSX11 symbol on the side, showing you what software pack it was on the discs and things like that. It goes on from there. By the time I leave New Zealand, I have these Suns, I've got all the PDPs, I've got some compacts, I've got some bigger dick stuff, RA81 drives, Microvax 2000, things like that. And I end up coming here. Well, it's not like I can bring a freaking Sun with me. I have no money. I don't get a work permit for 18 months. So there is no computers. I managed to score an indie off the internet for $45, and that was as best as I could do. Until, you know, get a job, start building things up, looking at the surplus sites, hanging onto the computer listservs, the websites, the email forums, and it starts to build, you know. Boeing, St. Louis, Purdue University, Boeing, came from my friend Sean, my friend Dave, my friend Nathan, my friend Sean. I bought that from a guy in Minneapolis, and it just goes on like that. My friend Dave with the Suns. And you build it up, and you build it up, and you build it up, and you get to this point and you go, is there something wrong with me? Do normal people do this crap? My aunt says, no, 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 no. We get rid of things, we dump things. I'm like, I'm not so sure. So you can look at this in a couple of different ways. The first is, we know for a fact, I mean, it has been borne out now, that early vintage systems, particularly niche vintage systems, or ones that have managed to get the cool factor, early Apples, Crays, things like that, there is a dollar value associated with them, and they continue to rise. How many years ago could you pick up an Apple Lisa for $100? Now they go for thousands of dollars. A friggin' Twiggy drive, flaky, unreliable piece of garbage, $30,000 plus. So this could be considered an investment. And I'm almost tongue-in-cheek with that because actually this isn't entirely untrue. It really could be. But that's not why I get it. But I could argue that to somebody, probably successfully, maybe. Really, this is the stuff that I thought was really cool when I was out of high school in my first few work years. My E10,000, it's around the corner there. In the late 90s, when I had my first real tech job, I was a programmer for an e-com company that went, and we were looking for equipment to use for the e-com server, the web server cluster, the database server, things like that. Database server, I really wanted an E450. Now I've got one. Web servers, I wanted E420s. We ended up with a NetApp F720 for the storage, things like that. 63 gigs, I remember, 63 gigs, 7 disks. 63 gigs was insanely massive at the time. Incomprehensibly massive. No one would ever fill 63 gigs. What a joke now. I mean, we should have known. So I'm all over Sun's website, and they had an HPC link, high performance computing, and the top of the tops, 1997, 1998, is the Sun E10,000. And so ever since then, like, I love the craze. It's a cray. I love the Suns. I love the SGIs. Just look at them. But the E10K is the penultimate computer for me. It is the one. And I own one. I had two. I have spares coming out my ears. I own what is my childhood hero. You know, some people, they buy cars. A Chevy Corvette. You know, a DeLorean. Of course, I own a DeLorean as well, but humble brag. This was my hero in the late 90s when I'm first entering the industry, and I have one now. It is a $10 million computer, S-spec'd in 1998, 1999. And I have it. And I have spares. These machines here were $250,000 a pop. I have 6 of the damn things. I appreciate now they're worth little more than scrap. There's some gold in them. And when they're working, you know, it's all well and good. We both know where that went, right? The E450, the database server. I really, really wanted one of those. Quad processor. I couldn't even imagine it at the time. And there's one there. And mostly it's a pain in the balls because it's so friggin' heavy to move. So I guess it's a lot of nostalgia. The things that I grew up with, the things that I wanted when I was younger, that now I can have because they're so freaking ancient. Who wants them? But that aside, there's also the part of me that says, who else is keeping them? Who else is collecting them? The 20th century saw, probably without question, the largest shift in industrial technological capability our planet's ever seen, at least in terms of the human race. You know, we went from the Industrial Revolution in 100 years to PDAs, to these, to super mini computers, things like mini supercomputers, things like that. I mean, just the range of advancement is phenomenal. And computers, Moore's law, like this. I mean, it was practically an exponential curve. How fast, year after year after year, they're advancing. First-gen computers, second-gen computers, fifth, ninth. You know, it's going up like this. Who's keeping it? Who's keeping track of all of the technological advancements that have happened? The E10K, on-demand performance, spinning up and spinning down CPUs, boards, RAM as necessary, popping a RAM board out. The bus, where you could literally shoot a hole in the bus and it'll flip from 144-bit to 72-bit, things like that. Things that are mainstream computing, okay, not the shooting the hole in the bus thing, but the adaptive power now exists in virtual machines you could break a Sun E10K up into how many machines? One machine with 4 CPUs, 64 CPUs, break it up, break it down. Bring a couple of CPUs into the pool, blow them off, have a separate machine. Where does this crap come from? It comes from machines like this. Who keeps these machines? Where these technologies originate. And if you don't hang on to them, then they're lost forever. Then that history is gone. What's a Model T worth now? Ford Model T. There were, how many did they build? 65,000 of them? They were garbage in the 20s, 30s and 40s. It was scrap. Send it off to the ironworks. Turn it into, ingots. Make something out of it. Build a Chevy out of it, What are they worth now? What's the nostalgia value now? I've driven a Ford Model T. The pedals don't work like a normal car. I had to relearn how to drive a freaking Ford Model T. Go YouTube. It's the same sort of thing. These reality monsters that Boeing used for heavy visualization, that companies used to do early 3D work, to do surround 3D systems. Iowa State University used a single rack to do a full 6-sided virtual environment back projected onto a huge cube that you could walk into. My Onyx 10,000 at the office was used by Boeing. They'd pick an F-18 up and convince the F-18 it was flying, and the pilot would sit inside it and fly in a generated flight simulator, and the airplane would act like it was in the simulator, in this world. I have all of the adapter boards that Boeing made for this. Where do these machines come from? This machine was owned by Purdue. It went to the Incube. This ran with a mini supercomputer. What did they do with it? What numbers did they crunch? Who was it used by? How many Incubes exist? 5? 10? 10 at the outset. How many of them have the controller boards of the software? 2? 3? Who keeps this crap? I keep this crap. Maybe you keep this crap. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough ranting and talking about myself. If you've made it this far, I do appreciate it. And I do apologise that I'm not updating as often as I should be. I am very aware. Maybe I'll get to something, well, I'm not going to say soon, but eventually. Anyways, as I said, if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you appreciate a little more why I do what I do. I guess if you're watching, you already do. Why do you collect it? What do you collect? Why don't you tell me? Let's hear from you guys. Anyways, thank you very much. You guys take care of yourself. I have a beer to finish. Adios.